What happened was my timesheets were like stacked for like 3 or 4 weeks at that point, and the work was not reducing. So it was not like I can really sit in a work day and work through it. And that moment, I thought, I do know what the solution is. Let me just build it so that I can just get done with those 4 weeks of timesheets. And that's where it started.
Hi Nishant, welcome to Marketing Studio. My name is Audrija and I'm so happy you've taken the time out to join us today.
Yeah, hi, Audrija. I am really happy to be here. Talking about timesheets, yes. One painful point that I guess we all share.
So, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being you absolutely love timesheets and the act of filling them out, and 5 being this is the activity you cannot wait to get away from, where do you stand on the scale?
Yeah, definitely 5. Yeah. You don't have to think through such questions.
So, this tool that you have created, it's making life a lot easier for you right now. And we'd love to hear more about it as well. But just to put things in context, say before this tool was created, what did a typical Friday evening look like in your life when you would sit down to think about whatever work you'd done over the course of the week?
Yeah, so earlier it would start before the Friday. Generally that we have to fill timesheets, and for that you have to prepare every day. So I tried a lot of ways. I tried taking notes where I would really scribble down on a notepad of what I am doing, right? And towards the end of the week on Friday, I'll reconstruct everything from those notes. Then I thought that's too messy of a way to do it. So I switched to using notes, right? And again, like too messy of a way to manage things because in a meeting there is a ad hoc call and then you are in a meeting and it's like a 3 minute meeting or a 5 minute meeting. And for that meeting, you're actually noting down, which is taking you another minute or so to go to that notes app and to write that line down, right? Which is to me is context switch, which is not great and it is just unnecessary. And then while doing it over and over again, I feel a lot of people have figured this out that there are signals across your different tools that we use. So for instance, like Slack has huddles list, right? So you can go to Slack and, click on it and it will tell you what all huddles you were a part of during a day or through a week. It will give you a list. It won't tell you a lot of details, but it will tell you whether it was a 5 minute huddle or it was a 25-minute huddle. So that's one way of tracking your meetings or ad hoc meetings through your week. Other way would be people who are much organized or who have lots of client calls, right? And who like keeping things on calendar. For them, those blocks are really informative when it comes to filling timesheets because a lot of work is there sitting. Then for some people, or rather, let's call developers, right? Jira is the primary tool that they use throughout the day. So whether it's QA giving you tickets or someone just assigning you new work or opening a ticket or rather asking a question to be clarified from either BA or client or whoever, that is again one signal, right? And all of those things are getting recorded. And that's what I used. I used to look for the huddles list in Slack. Then I used to look at my Jira board and I used to just check what were all the tickets that I moved through this week and using all the filters that Jira gives you. But that's like manual work. And then there is one more tool which we use, which is GitHub, right? So GitHub tracks basically all the work that we are pushing against a task in Jira. So there is a task, you work on it, you push some work, and it captures when it was raised, when it was merged, right? All of those small details. So I was doing this manually, going and collecting all these signals and then reconciling. And then it just occurred to me that this can be automated, but the challenge or the hardest part was the human bit. So there is some let's say Jira ticket, right, which got reopened and is assigned to me. And that was, let's say, not planned for that day. And let's say the person who assigned you that ticket, he or she calls you for a huddle to sort of give you an explanation about it. And that call turns out to be a 30-minute call. And this is work that you were not supposed to do that day. This is just ad hoc work. And it can be an urgent work. So usually what will happen is this will go missed that hurdle will go missed. And then you work on this ticket and you will make sure that it's pushed, it's fixed, and you reassign the ticket to QA or whoever the person is. This is all related to that task, right? And the context is all sitting there in that task. Why was it reopened? What was that hurdle about? Who was it with? And a human would be required to sort of reconcile this. So I thought language models, which we use in everyday life, they are good at it. They can look at the context and figure out, okay, this is the context. So in timesheets, we do have a summary or a description where we have to explain what we did in particular chunk. And writing that is like a nightmare if you have worked on 30 tasks, right? But that is also very important if data is considered to tell like what exactly was worked on during this time. And the thing like that LLM can actually help here. It can take all that context, signals are already there, and it can create a one-liner that Nishant worked on this ticket and there was this hurdle that happened or a call that happened with this person and they discussed this solution. Then later in the day, it was pushed and verified by QA. And that gets captured, all of it. And by the end of the week, it's just one, card sitting for you right there to sort of just review. You don't have to go through Jira, Huddle, through Slack, GitHub. No, you don't have to do that. It's all there, sitting in a card with a description already populated. And all you have to do probably is just go and tweak maybe hours. So let's say you can recall, okay, now I think I worked on it for 1 hour, but AI thought or LLM thought that he worked on it for 1.5 hours. So you can just make it 1 hour and then submit. That's it. You don't have to write that long summary. You don't have to sit and browse through 3 tools. And this is just one work item that I'm talking about. During a day or during the week, a lot of things happen. So the idea was just to take this idea to all of those points. And what will happen is eventually you will have all the data. And it's very easy for us. If the data is there, right? If a card says you worked on this, it's very easy for us humans to sort of recall because we worked on it, right? We can immediately recall, okay, yeah, I remember that happened. But it's really hard when it's all blank and then you have to really sit and think through Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, I was on leave. So that's the painful stuff. If I just cut short all of this, the idea was basically to bring all the signals together, take help from LLM to write down or rather talk about what the person worked on through those signals and bring your time or rather change the focus from filling timesheet to reviewing timesheet. Because let's say, okay, I used to spend 45 minutes filling for the week. Now, even if I spend the same amount of time and my time is not really getting saved, but the focus is now shifted towards reviewing it, which is a lot powerful because I am actually seeing what is it that dragged my work, what is it where I can improve, what is it that I have to take help from someone, so that when I come next week I have things to say to my team, to my project manager. I can ask for help, I'll know what is going great. So that changed stuff for me at least.
So, Nishant, like you mentioned, it's a universal problem, right? And I'm sure you've been thinking about this for a while as well before you finally reached a point where you decided, okay, I've had enough, I'm going to create this now. Was there like a specific tipping point or an incident that occurred that finally, prompted you to take action?
Yeah. So it's like an embarrassing moment. And I don't know if my project manager sees this video, they'll know what I'm talking about. But really what happened during this back to back work, they kept procrastinating that I'll fill the timesheets. I have the notes, I know the process, and yeah, maybe it's too much for this week. I'll do it over the weekend. And what happened was like my timesheets were like stacked for like 3 or 4 weeks at that point, and the work was not reducing. So it was not like I can really sit in a work day and work through it. And I was not really ready to put in extra time during my weekend because that's basically time which is already reserved for family and you can't really pull time from it a lot of the times. So it got stacked up. And that moment I thought, I do know what the solution is. Let me just build it and not for anyone, right? And this was before the hackathon thing happened. So basically the thing that pushed us all. But I was like, let me just build it and let me just build a scratch version, a POC of it, so that I can just get done with those 4 weeks of timesheets in an accurate way, and my project manager won't have any complaint. And I think that's great, and people won't know what I did. And I don't need to tell them either, right? It's just a personal tool. And that's where it started.
So now the personal hack has grown so big that others are asking for access to it to solve their own timesheet problems, right?
Yeah, that's a really wonderful feeling, to be honest, because people want to try it. And if you see it's working for someone, that also gives you a lot of, like, at least to me, it gives me a lot of happiness and like contentment. Okay.
Understandable, right? I mean, you understand the pain point firsthand, and to know that you are helping somebody else deal with that particular pain point. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here at Accelerant have been in the same situation that you just described, with 4 weeks of unfilled timesheets stacked up. And the last thing you want to do on your weekend, even if you do have the time, is to sit there and think about what happened in the past 4 weeks. So it makes absolute sense that, more and more people are asking for access to this magical tool of yours. So would you like to walk us through the tool, how it works, how people can actually use it to automate this problem?
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll just give you a quick walkthrough of it. So let me talk about first the setup part, where I can talk about the current signals that we pull. Nothing fancy, no AI here. It's just that we are right now pulling from Jira, from GitHub, from our calendar, and the Slack. So these are the four sources, or signals rather, as I call it. And then we have our Mavenlink, which is where we fill, or rather submit our timesheets, and we have our Claude as the choice of LLM here. So if I go to my review, and this is my current week from June 1st to 5th. So you see a few drafts, and right now it's Thursday 4th. So there are no entries, but I do have data for 1 through 3. So what happens is it pulls in signals from, like I said, from my calendar, from Jira, and from GitHub, to understand what all I worked on. And from Slack, it sort of creates that context where, because a lot of our conversations and a lot of our work and ad hoc work mostly lives in Slack, people ping you there. So it tries to create that context and tries to see which task that you're assigned to or you're working on, let's say in Jira, has more work coming in. So let's say if it's a call that's happening about a ticket that I talked about already, it can pull that context in from there. So let me just walk through a card. So this is just like a simple card. And here it says 15-minute attended PRM, which is my current engagement, DSM. It says 15 minutes because my calendar entry says 15 minutes exactly. But I do have the right to, because I know I was in the call for 25 minutes and not 15 minutes. So I can just, change it, and basically it's now approved. So you see the difference between unapproved cards, which are like a little gray and a little dull, and the approved
Yeah.
ones. And the difference between them is I wanted to create a layer. So when you review, when you come here, everything is waiting for you to come review and approve explicitly, because I did not want to take that human factor away, where you will actually sit and review whether you worked on something or you want to tweak, and then you approve explicitly. And whatever you approve, you can take it to Mavenlink. That was the whole idea. So let's say there are entries which are incorrect. So let's say this 30-minute block, it's pulling it from calendar. And this is generally a block of time which I keep reserved during the morning to sit and see through my day of how it looks like, and to sort of plan it well. But I don't end up using it every day. So I know for a fact that I was not able to use this block, or I was not able to sit during this time. So I can just click delete, and that's gone from here. So that's the whole idea, just to review each entry. If I talk about a ticket, now this is where the fun is. It exactly knows what ticket I worked on. So this is like a real Jira entry. And this summary, I'm sure if I was supposed to write it down manually, I won't be able to do it for every task that I do in Mavenlink. But LLM did that magic for me. So it talks about, I fixed something, and what was the fix, and what was the PR. It talks about everything. And that's a lot of data. It also talks about, which is one thing, that it's a development task, which is this, right? The confidence. So confidence is basically your LLM way of telling you that I have high confidence that this thing happened. And low means I don't know whether it happened or not. So you take a call here. So basically, high means it knows ki I worked on this because the signals are strong. Now it also talks about whether this task, the PRM 1037, whether it was billable or non-billable, because that's how we label things in Mavenlink, right? So it pulls the data from Mavenlink and Jira, and it gives you this small pill that this is a non-billable task, so that you also know while reviewing that this is the time that you actually spent either fixing a bug or working on something which is not generating revenue or is directly billable, so that you can actually plan your next week in a way where you can work on more billable hours or you can reach out to someone for help. Let me tell you one more card which has like a billable thing. So I don't have it in this week, but let me go to previous week. Yeah. So here, if you can see the billable hours show up like this. So let's say this work card, right? Now it talks about that I worked on this on Thursday last week. And what did I work on? It tells me the time. I can obviously come here and change the time, but this is very interesting. It says 0H, which is 0 hours if I hover over it, right? This tells this is a non-billable ticket and you have not spent any time here already. Why this is important is, let's say a ticket or a task spans through a couple of days or a few weeks, and you keep logging your time against that task. So when you're filling your time again, you should know how much time you've already spent on this. That's where this data comes handy. Right now it tells me that this is a new thing and I've not, and no one has logged any time on this or against this. But if I, let's say, work on this task again the next week, and I come to this card, this will for sure tell me some hours which I actually logged against it in Mavenlink, right? Which will come handy in a way I can know whether I am going above the budget, or if it's a non-billable task, is it taking a really long time or a lot of effort? In which case, I really need to reach out to my project manager to talk about it. It's an important point where my time is going away. And there is one more cool thing, which is I can come here, right? So I did take a lot of feedbacks from people or peers who were using it to fill the timesheets. And one pain point they had was, especially for team leads, is they don't work on tickets, or rather, they don't log their time against Jira tickets. They log their time against a ticket which is separate, which is, let's say, TA activities or something. And that would depend from project to project as to how project manager wants to run that project. So what they wanted was, let's say the task that I worked on was 1037, but I do not want to log the time against it. My ticket is separate. I have like a dedicated ticket that my project manager has asked me to log time against. So they can always click on this pencil icon and then they can change it to, let's say, PRM 10 and just hit enter. So what that will do is that will update where the time is going to log against. This is basically a destination in Mavenlink. So although it tells you where it thinks your time went, but you also have the power to actually make the update where you want to log the time against. That's also something that you have. And sometimes there will be cards where it won't know, or there is, let's say, no task against it. So yesterday, I know I solved a problem. There was one security issue that I saw and I worked on it, and it took me around 30 minutes, which is correct. But there was no task. So that's why it says add ticket. And it's a great opportunity for me to actually go ahead, create a task in Jira and to attach it here, or ask for a task from my PM. This all won't happen if I'm not doing this. Or I'll have to write down every small thing in a notebook, and then that would be a lot of manual work, which is totally unnecessary. This is also a cool feature that was built in again for the sole purpose of you retrospecting your week, which is so let's say it gives me two warnings or flags rather. One is unattributed time, and the second one is budget mismatch. So basically, it tells me that you are spending 11.75 hours, which is exceeding your 8 hours by 47%. Yeah, so that's like a significant overrun. And it also talks about what you worked
Mhm.
on. So it looks like you worked through a lot of tickets, and it was a high velocity delivery week or delivery day. What you can do about these flags? You can't do much, but this is a way for you to know whether you are working more or working less. And if you're working more, You can actually apply for a compensatory leave. You can reach out to your project manager. You can reach out to your team to sort of take some help. So that's the whole idea. So I can just read it and resolve it. And what I'll do is I want to show you how it syncs to Mavenlink also. What I'll do is I will, just for the sake of time, I'll approve everything. So here's this button. It's like manual rather than manually doing it just to save some time using this. Yeah, so it approved all 23 entries. And now there are tickets which don't have a task attached. Like it does not know where to log this time against. So it will actually remind me. And if I don't put anything here, it will just skip those work items. Yeah, so first I'll let you see the timesheets for my current week, which is absolutely blank. There is nothing here. Now what I'll do is I'll go back. I have approved everything and I just click on sync to Mavenlink. So it will just first of all resolve all the tasks in Mavenlink. It's just going through everything one by one. And now it has two things. One is what all is linkable, like what all it can submit without help, and it is telling me what it is skipping. So these are tasks where I've not put in a Jira ticket or a ticket to log time against. So it will basically skip it, and it's no worry because I can always come back and put a ticket against these and then resubmit, and it won't touch the old entries. So once the entries are synced, it will not touch them. It will only sync the entries which are newly approved or not synced. So I can confirm these 16 entries and it should not take more than 10 seconds. Yeah, so it's submitted. Now let me just go back to the timesheets. I'll just refresh it. I do have the data. Yeah, and if I go here, there is a lot of data for PMs, like what I implemented on, what I worked on, where's the PR. It's a big ticket. It has a lot of data. And this is really important because when project manager looks at it, they can figure things out from here. So I think we are going in the right direction.
Definitely. It's super impressive. Like the very fact that, you get those neat summaries of ad hoc tasks over the course of the day. I mean, to note that down manually would have been impossible.
And the best part is it will make life easier for us people who work. But if let's say someone has to draw some insight from a project that's been running, they can actually run an insight through the data. Because people who will use this tool, the descriptions will be a lot more explanatory than people who would not. Because I just wrote one-liners that too, I don't think they were good when I used to submit it manually. Because I can't spend like more than 45 minutes if I'm doing it manually. I'm not willing to put in 1.5 hours because there is no entry to fill timesheets. You can't say I'm logging one more entry in Mavenlink because I was actually filling timesheets. So I don't want to spend my time there. That's the whole idea.
So let me ask you something a little bit philosophical. You had a recurrent task that you did not like, you used AI and you found a solution for it. Do you think this changes the way we approach work and the regular tasks that we encounter in our work lives? Like, I mean, it's got to make you think differently about the problems you encounter as well, right? Where do you
Yeah.
stand on that?
Yeah, so it is a really good question and a really interesting one because I have been thinking about this. So, as a software engineer, I see, let's say, there is some work or a pattern that you do on a recurring basis, and it's the exact same work that you do. So, there's always a good point to automate it. And let's not jump horses and just say AI is going to be useful because no, to automate things, we don't need AI. We have been automating stuff, and that's how this tool runs also. It's not AI is helping to write those summaries based on the context, but AI is not helping to pull those signals. That's the data sitting there every night at 11 p.m. IST. The cron runs, and that's when it actually pulls data from Jira, GitHub, Slack, all of those signals. So it's not AI that's doing the work. And when I clicked on Mavenlink, syncing to Mavenlink, that was also not AI submitting my timesheets. That is a system that we've built. Where AI was really useful was, create that summary, that human-like touch, where if Nishant or let's say Adrija wants to write what they worked on, they would write that summary based on a certain rules, obviously, so that it does not become too long. It should not be an essay, and it should talk about just the important stuff. So there has to be rules, but that's where AI is good. If I create this system without AI, which by the way, I am trying. There is like a part where I don't want to burn tokens and I don't want to rely on AI. So I've been comparing, and I actually would like you to see that because it's not out for people to see, but that's something that might come out if things go right. So I have this status. Yeah. And if I go to compare, let me just pull my data last 7 days, let's say. Let's do it for yesterday, which is 3rd of June. Let me just expand this. On the left, the data that you see is from AI or from Claude. And this is something that we approve. So that's why it's saying ticks. And here, the right side data is actually not AI. It's just plain old software engineering put to use. So what I'm doing right now is I've created this system and I'm sort of shadowing it every week because I can then compare and benchmark and I can improve this, the other solution that I have. And right now, the problem that I see is it is capturing all the data. So if you see the PRM 1037 is actually captured. And here it says 3 hours 45 minutes. Here it says 1 hour 9 minutes. And if you see the description, it's not good. It just says key put status transition, one assignee change, one comment. So AI is right now shining here because it is thinking like a human with all this context and sort of associating that work to a time. And manually, it's like a real challenging work to do. But I'm not saying it's not doable. I want to explore that boundary because what I see and the mistake that I've been constantly making is I'm being lazy and I'm using AI where it's not supposed to be used. And that's not a good engineering practice. It might work, but that does not mean it's a good way to do things. So I went on a tangent here, but that was one thing
No,
that I
it's
wanted to talk about.
always good to hear how your mind works. So, would you just like to talk about what's next? Like, you already mentioned that you're working on the 2.0 version of your initial solution. Is there anything else that you have in mind? Any other tasks that you'd like to automate or find solutions to?
Yeah, so I'm not looking at a particular tool that I want to build or a solution that I want to create right now. It's just that now I'm thinking more about how do I make my life easier? How do I automate stuff? And that does not necessarily mean using AI in that tool specifically. But I do know that having AI solve a big problem where you can think through a solution. So if I want to build something, I have a partner to research with me. And whether I'm using AI there or not does not matter. But I'm definitely going to use AI to take all the help. And it will cut the execution time to a lot shorter so that I can actually build something useful and see whether it's actually helping me. Because I was not sure in the start whether this would be helpful or not. And then when it worked for the first time, I was not sure whether it's something that can help other people. And right now, there are a lot of things to look at, but you can iterate faster, knowing that you can build things faster. Otherwise, if a tool can take 3 months to build for just the first version, you can't really trade fast.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And excited to see what else you come up with and the next versions of this solution as well, Nishant.
Yeah, I'm also excited.
Thank you so much for joining in and
Thank
for
you.
showing us how it works. And it's been great having this conversation with you as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.